Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome here to the VML, the Venus and Mercury League. Venus and Mercury League is a weekly showcase of the talents of people of marginalized genders within our Magic community. The VML is brought to you in association with the NRG series and sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. My name is Nicole Callahan, better known as Lady of the Crease, and I am joined here by the lovely Beky Bell, also known as Beky Bear on Twitter. We have 64 players total in our league. These players have been divided into 8 divisions. Play is done in a round robin within the division for 7 weeks before cutting to a playoff of the top 24. And here we are in week 4, and we're starting to feel the grind. How are you doing tonight, Beky?
We're more than halfway there now. I'm doing, it's starting to feel like we're seeing the people at the top of the league. People are like rising, getting to a place where they're kind of locking in, being in the top 8, top even more so. We're going top 16 here. Top 32 basically as well, because we're also doing like some kind of wild card thing as usual. We'll get into more of that later weeks, but we're now starting to like really flesh out like who's sitting pretty and who's got to sweat a little bit in the next few weeks to really pull it out.
Yeah, we do have a few 3-0s, a few undefeateds that we're featuring tonight, but week 4 is always a funny week because you either have a winning or a losing record. It happens a lot in actually a lot of sports where you play like best of 7, and it's just like Game 4 is always so awkward because either you're digging your hole even deeper and you go for 1-2 or something, the 1-3, or you're 2-1 and you're like battling. You're like, come on, I got to keep this positive record and stay.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a really pivotal week, honestly, and it's also our last week's Sans Kaldheim. So that's also a big thing.
Very excited. New set of Magic coming out. Kaldheim, for those of you who don't know, is dropping on Arena. Got to get playing it. And it's what we're going to be featuring next week. Next week is going to be a whole new standard. Very exciting. Very anticipating a new standard. We've been kind of playing and sitting on this one for a little while after some mega bans and a lot of big scary things that happened after Zendikar. So we're gonna see if we go through that whole thing again, where some really, really OP strong cards kind of have to be taken away. We're gonna hope that that isn't the case though, and we get to just hang out with these new cards for as long as possible and play lots of Kaldheim.
Yes, I've been enjoying it so far, but let's take a look at our metagame, breaking down our week 4 here, our last week, like I said, without the Kaldheim cards in it, and it's pretty much stayed pretty equal. Gruul Adventures being the biggest player here all 4 weeks so far. What do you see here, Beck?
Yeah, so we've been seeing Gruul pretty much at the top since the very start. It's been kind of ebbing and flowing between some other things, but we've really over the last week we actually saw fewer other strategies than this week. This week, a few more people kind of changed to being what seems to be ramp strategies to really combat a lot of these mid-range type strategies. Whether you like it or not, Gruul is kind of like aggro slanted mid-range. Mono green food, definitely mid-range. Sacrifice is pretty mid-rangey. Dimir Rogues like has an aggressive slant as well, but is kind of more edging on control deck. And so the ramp strategies kind of have this like controlling but like good against creature sort of ideas behind them. So we can see that a lot of people went onto these like Obosh or Ugin style strategies in the other category this week. To kind of combat these things. But we are seeing a huge increase in the sacrifice strategy this week that we previously have only seen like 2 or 3 copies of in previous weeks. And this week we have 8 copies, 6 of which contain Korvold, and the other 2 are just red-black.
Yeah, and I wonder if the sacrifice, because from the very beginning of the season, I expected Gruul Adventures and Rogues to be going at it for the top of the top. And here we see Rogues falling down to 5th. And I don't know if that has something to do with the surge in sacrifice or how well the sacrifice has been doing, because the sacrifice deck tends to do pretty well against the Rogues decks.
Yeah. I think a part of the difficulty with the Rogues deck especially, it's been very popular in pro play, but I think a lot of people who maybe don't have as much time to play as a lot of pro players won't be picking up a Rogues deck, won't be picking up a Doom Foretold deck, so they could be extremely strong decks, but people just like aren't going to pick them up as much as they're going to pick up Gruul Adventure decks, as much as they're going to pick up things like mono green food. But the sacrifice strategy does a really great job of combating the Gruul Adventures deck. Pretty much a lot of their creatures have 1 toughness. It's really easy to get rid of those creatures with the sacrifice cards, and as well as against the rogues deck, like you just said, it's really easy for the sacrifice deck to kind of combat and get around a lot of the things that the rogues deck is doing. So that, yeah, is probably why we're seeing an increase in the sacrifice strategies.
I love it. I love it. But here we're going to start with, as we have on the leaderboard there, Doom Foretold. We got a couple of Doom decks here.
We've been seeing quite a bit of Doom Foretold kind of rising up in the last week. It's kind of an interesting deck that doesn't allow your opponents to interact with you in a ton of ways. A lot of these enchantments, a lot of people aren't playing a ton of enchantment removal, aren't playing a ton of ways to interact with the way that Doom Foretold works. So we are getting to see a lot of these decks kind of rise up.
Yes, and one of them here, though, a less popular take on Doom. We have Mardu Doom in the hands of Kabir and Division 1. 3-0 so far this season, bouncing between, I believe, this deck and Gruul. So some different cards in here, things like Omer the Forge, which I imagine would be good against, more creature heavy decks. Same thing with main deck of Crone Wars. Ruinous Ultimatum, however, is definitely an interesting one.
we've been seeing a lot of the Genesis Ultimatum with decks in the Venus and Mercury League so far, but I'm very excited to see a card like Ruinous Ultimatum be played in a deck. Especially, I've been kind of a fan of the Doom Foretold decks. I like that they're playing a very different strategy. I think that Yorion is a very cool card. I've also been a big fan of Loris. Basically, all the companions that have stuck around, I've been a big fan of, and I think that those two are just simply the most playable. So anytime they make their way into decks, it's very exciting to me. And the Doom Foretold decks are approaching standard and the standard format in a way that isn't usually taken. So big fan of this, big fan of Ruinous Ultimatum. I'm also hoping to see a lot of Ruinous Ultimatum with Kabir. So also there's just there's some cool things that this is doing. I'm also a big fan of Amaria's Call, and possibly getting to do some fun stuff with that.
Yes, and just a little teaser, if you stick around, we'll have another ultimatum being featured that is neither Ruinous or
neither Ruinous or Genesis.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Neither of those. So if you stick around, you got to stay though. You got to stay and watch. Now
I'm sticking around.
Good.
You got
me too. Me too.
I wasn't convinced before, but I'm here now.
Well, so on the flip side here, we have a more traditional Esper Doom list. What is your thoughts on how these two decks are going to match up? Doom for Doom.
I'm going to go ahead and play the Doom song now.
Right?
Well, I made this joke last week when Doom Foretold was the second most popular deck submitted into the VML last week. I was making a lot of Doom jokes. It kind of seems like it could fall in favor of the Esper deck simply because the Esper deck is getting to play things like Negate in the sideboard. I feel like they're going to be playing a few more things that are slanting towards interacting with their opponent as well, whereas the Mardu one isn't really going to be doing as much interacting with enchantments, I don't feel like, in the same way that, or interacting on the stack as well, that the Esper version is going to be. So this is gonna be interesting. I actually haven't watched a lot of Doom Foretold Mirror, so I'm not super certain how this is gonna go. But if we had to take a quick glance at both and have not ever played the matchups before myself, I would guess that I would go in favor of the one that interacts on the stack a little bit more, which is going to be the Esper Yorion version.
Yes, and this is a very important match for Grace here, who is at 1 and 2 in Division 1. So this is one of those make or breaks. Bring her back up to 500, and we've got Kabir on the other side fighting to stay undefeated. So let's dive in here. And again, a big thank you to Nerd Rage Gaming for making the season possible. We are thrilled to be working with the NRG series this season. So let's get into some week 4 action. We're going to be watching on the side of Kabir. That is the Mardu Doom deck. And an interesting opening hand here. Only 2 lands on the play.
This seems... we're on... I feel like these are both kind of control strategies, and in control decks, especially control mirrors, a lot of the time you want to just like make your land drops. A lot of the time you're both kind of just saying land go, and whoever is going to be having the most lands in play and eventually be able to double spell is going to be the person who ends up winning the game. So personally, this seems like a scary hand to keep to me, especially when we can only cast one card and it's an Omen of the Forge. We know that our opponent isn't playing a ton of creatures in their deck. This seems like a little bit of a scary keep, but I suppose Kabir understands a lot of what her deck is playing a lot better than I do, understands that she sees a lot of lands more often than not, and likely will draw another land and everything will be fine. Once we get to 3 mana, we should be smooth sailing for the most part. 4, we cast everything in our hand, and the suboptimal cards in our hand aren't worth shipping it back, so we're going to just get right into it.
Yeah, and I see that, I mean, also knowing that she might feel like she's been on the back foot here, facing down the counter spells on Grace. Maybe she feels like, listen, I need to hit a little something. I need to get a little lucky in order to get ahead in this matchup and win here. But we see she does draw her 3rd land in Temple of Silence. So we have at least the 3 lands here. And Grace is going to start off on her side with a golden egg after mulliganing to 6. Treacherous Blessing the draw there.
Treacherous Blessing, the scry to the top after the very nice Temple of Silence. Every time I see this little settings button, I'm always like, don't concede. What? I don't usually go to the settings, so I'm like, no, it makes me really anxious.
I feel like a deck that has so many pips in it, you got to make sure your lands are tapping for the right colors.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But
we'll see a Treacherous Blessing on Grace's side here.
It seems like a good start for both of these players. Grace getting to draw a lot of the cards off of the Golden Egg and the Treacherous Blessing. We see Kabir choosing to play the Elspeth's Nightmare before the Treacherous Blessing. I imagine that her plan is to also cast this other Elspeth's Nightmare on this turn as well. Maybe since we drew the land, it's going to be actually slamming the Archon of Sun's Grace so that we can just start to get value off of playing the enchantments that maybe don't mean as much. But I imagine before that, the plan was to slam Elspeth's Nightmares, get them onto the battlefield so we can get to the second part of the saga that is actually relevant in this matchup as quickly as possible.
So we'll see that very important Archon of Sun's Grace hitting the battlefield here on Kabir's side after being able to take the Heartless Act from Grace's hand. Doom Foretold going to be the play here on Grace's side, and it looks like Elspeth's Nightmare will hit the bin before being able to exile Grace's graveyard. Treacherous Blessing going to be a little Doom Foretold fodder here, and also make a 2/2 flyer with that Archon. This is the kind of start that Kabir is looking for.
And this is also certainly a great place to be with this Archon. Drawing our kind of quote unquote throwaway enchantments. Obviously Treacherous Blessing, very good, but very good when there is a way for you to immediately get rid of it so that you are not taking that 1 damage each turn. And in this case, Kabir's opponent's Doom Foretold is actually going to get rid of her Treacherous Blessing for her.
Yes, that is definitely one of the things. Now, it'll be interesting to see what Grace does here. We know she has a Treacherous Blessing of her own and an Omen of the Sea in hand, as well as a Yorion. So very little value off the Yorion here, but it is a pretty big body in the sky. So
a big body in the sky that blocks the Archon of Sun's Grace, more importantly.
Yes. So Yorion is going to be the play here. Omen of the Forge going to be cast. Make another 2/2 flyer. Gonna go upstairs with that too. Brings Grace down to 11 here. Golden Eggs coming back in on the end step for Yorion. Drawing some cards. Doom Foretold triggers for Kabir. I'm going to get rid of that Treacherous Blessing. And another Omen of the Forge is the draw.
This will be an interesting turn. The Omen of the Forge, an interesting play on end step to go face when we will be using this Extinction event. Oh, Tokens aren't 1 mana. They're 0. So yeah. Never mind. Even mana cost technically by those standards, and not a worry about. So great play. Don't mind me.
No, it's totally fine. It's a pretty clean answer for Yorion there. Yeah, the tokens thing confuses me too. It's just like, okay, 0, and then I have to remember the 0 is even, and it's not 1, and it's not.
Yeah.
It gets to be a bit.
You spend your whole life growing up being told that 0 is neither even or odd in school, and then all of a sudden magic tells you, no, it's even, and it messes with my brain sometimes a little bit. But we see Kabir taking down this game with that little 1-2 punch of the Archon, a bunch of Pegasus, the extinction event, and is going face.
Yes, and in Kabir's cards to watch, Archon of Sun's Grace was definitely in there because I don't believe that Kabir wants these games to go very long. I feel like the longer they go, the more convoluted they can get, the bigger of an advantage Grace can build with cards like Dance of the Mans.
Yeah.
So
Kabir mentioned that in her little write-up that Dance of the Mans was a card that she was afraid of, seeing if games got a little too long. So very heads-up play for her to be trying to close these games out as quickly as possible.
Yes, and we see even most of the Doom Foretold coming out here. Just a quick note on Grace's side as far as sideboarding. We have 2 Cling to Dust, 3 Negate, 3 Mystical Dispute, 1 Treacherous Blessing, 3 Archon of Sun's Grace of her own, an Extinction Event, and a Shark Typhoon. So Shark Typhoon definitely is I would imagine that one coming in. And the Negates as well. Yes. What do you think about Mystical Dispute?
I don't think that it's worth playing if you can't play it for 1 mana ever. I could be wrong. It could be something that you're looking to bring in. I don't know how many cards Grace deems as bad in the matchup. If there are enough things that you want to take out in this matchup, then I could imagine that they come in. But having looked at both of the lists before, I can't imagine that there are that many things that she wants to take out. So I don't imagine that they come in.
All right, and Kabir is going to start here on 7. 3 lands this time, double Skyclave Apparition, Ameria's Call, which is also a land, and an Elspeth's Nightmare, and then drew another land. So it looks like we're good on lands for this game so far. We'll just see a pathway on Grace's side and a pass back.
Good on lands this game. We're scrying a Mazemind Tome. Everything is just, it's looking really nice on the side of Kabir.
Yes. Mazemind Tome will stay on top. We'll see a Plains on Grace's side and just a pass back as we draw that Mazemind Tome. Ooh, we'll see. Will it resolve?
When you're playing against a blue deck and something sits on the stack for a second and you have to, all right, the negate is coming. So the negates did come in as we suspected simply from looking at deck lists at the very beginning and getting rid of Mazemind Tome. One of the better ways for this Mardu deck to kind of shake out exactly how its draws are going to go and kind of take over some of the more card filtering and card selection, card advantage that the blue deck has built into it. Mazemind Tome, great way to do that, but we're just going to go ahead and say, we don't want you to have what this blue deck is giving me, so here's my Omen of the Sea. Here's my card advantage and card filtering that your 2-mana one I didn't let resolve.
We'll see the Elspeth's Nightmare again from Kabir's side with nothing to go on in Chapter 1, sort of just like an expensive delayed duress here. But perhaps like if that's the value in this matchup, that's the value.
I think that the other 2 portions of Elspeth's Nightmare are far too relevant to ignore, since Dance of the Mans is something that Kabir is afraid of. Getting rid of your opponent's graveyard, very good, very important. And we did see that the mystical my apologies. The mystical disputes did in fact come into Grace's deck. So perhaps she had maybe some Elspeth's Nightmares of her own and she just decided, I don't really need those, so I'd rather have these mystical disputes.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense if you expecting these games to go longer, a 3-mana counterspell still can get the job done. So I totally get that. The Skyclave Apparition of her own in hand, and Kabir with 2 Skyclave Apparitions in hand as well. We'll see what happens.
A little battle of Skyclave Apparitions.
Yes. All right, Elspeth's Nightmare going to Nyx Grace's graveyard. Omen of the Sun was the draw on Kabir's side. Checking out that Cling to Dust. Nothing to cling in Grace's graveyard at the moment, but just a land and a pass of the turn here. Grace is going to sacrifice Own of the Sea at the end of turn to scry.
A good use of the mana. This is probably one of the better things about playing something like the extra counterspell, even if it is kind of an expensive counterspell of Mystical Dispute, then being able to do things like sacrificing your omens on end step instead of using them when your opponent might know about them is a very good use of the mana and worth putting in extra counterspells, even if there isn't any blue spells that are easy to counter in Kabir's deck.
Yes, and looks like we'll cast that Omen of the Sun on Grace's end step, make a couple 2/2s, gain a couple life, up to 22. Got a couple of 1/1s in play here now too.
Yeah, hopefully these 1/1s can start to do some attacking and start whittling down at the life total. Again, Kabir mentioned doesn't want these games to go long, and we haven't seen a ton of ways for Kabir to be attacking Grace's life total. So trying to get as many little things to do that with in play as possible, very important.
All right, and Yorion will go in the hand after those two little 1/1s get into the red zone, taking Grace down to 18. Grace will crack Fable Passage end of turn. Let's fetch up a land here. Still double Mystical Dispute, Skyclave in hand for Grace, and a mystery card. And Yorion waiting in the wings. So
yeah, Yorion going to be one of the cheaper things that we're able to play that can't be countered by Mystical Dispute. This is one of the places where I personally wouldn't have immediately thought to bring Mystical Dispute in. As I mentioned, the counter or the control versus control matchups usually end up being who is playing the most lands, who's making the most land drops, and who's able to cast 2 spells. This goes also with whoever's able to pay for Mystical Dispute first, which we see Kabir continuously making these land drops and is soon, very soon, going to be able to just pay for Mystical Dispute, and it won't be that scary of a card.
Well, it looks like a Treacherous Blessing followed by a Golden Egg and a tap land is going to be defenses down on Grace's side, and that just opens up the door for an Amaria's Call here on Kabir's side. So now we've got some formidable attackers that Grace is going to have to address now, and Skyclave Apparition does not take care of tokens, so looks like we might be in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, it does seem that way. You show the Mystical Disputes, and then you also show that you're not using them for a turn, and it does seem that Kabir took that as, oh, well, here are some angels.
Yes,
now you've got to deal with these.
10 power on the side of Kabir with Grace at 15 life. And we know about the Skyclave Apparitions. We know about the double Mystical Disputes. And then 4 other cards in hand. Gonna lose life off that Treacherous Blessing, anything she does cast. And at 15 life, she's already at a 2-turn clock. Looks like Skyclave Apparition is going to come down here.
Yeah, I imagine on the side of Grace, you're just trying to do any amount of little things you can do to change this clock. There isn't going to be a whole lot because even just those 2 4/4s in the air make this a 2-turn clock, regardless of the 1/1s on the ground. So it'll be interesting to see how Grace maneuvers these next 1 or 2, possibly, hopefully more turns.
Yes. It looks like Skyclave Apparition is going to come down on Kabir's side to take care of Grace's Skyclave Apparition. There's a question there. Can you Skyclave Apparition and just not have taken the Omen of the Sun so that Kabir would not have gotten a 3/3? Is that a thing?
I believe that's a thing.
So
I would need to look at. And then I am just typing Skyclave Apparition. I'm curious now.
I do wonder. Looks like Grace back up to 7, gaining some life off that Golden Egg, staring down 2 angels, a 3/3 token, a 2/2 Skyclave Apparition, and a couple of 1/1 soldiers. We got 4 4 3 2 1 1. It's a lot of power. And Amaria's Call on Grace's side, gonna go down to 6 off the Treacherous Blessing. Omen of the Forge could go upstairs. It still was more than enough to take it down. So Kabir going to move on 4-0 in Division 1 with this Mardu Doom deck. And we didn't get to see what
Congratulations.
ultimatum.
We didn't get to see Arunis ultimatum, so
no.
I am a little sad, but it's okay. I understand.
Oh my, but what a match. What a match. Like, I not exactly how I'd expected to go, but Kabir did what she had to do to win, and that was get down early, take advantage of the windows, and she did, and she executed very well. So it was well played on both sides. Congratulations to Kabir. And let's take a look at our next matchup here. Coming out of Division 6, we have an absolutely just perfect card for card. Just they're both players 2-1. This is the perfect mirror.
Oh, okay.
Everything. There is not a single difference between either of these lists. Everything's in the same order. Could have used the same picture and we'd never know. So there must be something here, right? I may have copy pasted a little bit. So
I'll allow the copy pasta here. If it is, it's a truthful copy pasta, so I will allow.
Yes.
Okay.
We are looking at a red-black Corval deck here on Felipe's side. Felipe, like I said, out of Division 6 at 2-1. So a good positive record here going into week 4. And we see pretty much all the usual suspects. Village Rights, Claim the Firstborn, Croxa, Bone Crusher Giant, Woe Strider, Rankle, Skyclave Shade. A couple of main deck shredded sales in there for some insurance against cards like the Great Henge or Embercleave. But pretty run-of-the-mill red-black Corval deck. What do you think here?
I do always think it's funny. I know, like, maybe Caroline didn't coin this, but I do always think it's really funny when we call it just red black Corvold. I like understand it, and I understand that it's like referencing some like also decks of old with this name, but I still think it's like it's a little funny to me to call it this. But that aside, I do think that this deck is very cool. I love that this strategy has still been able to stick around despite the banning of Cauldron Familiar. I was a big fan of all the sacrifice decks when that was the big card. I'm a little sad that these decks don't play Mayhem Devil and aren't doing like aristocrat strategies, but I guess doing Croaks and things is fine too.
Yes. I find very amusing that the card that she's hoping to see a lot of in this matchup and not hoping to see is both Corvold. So
yeah, Corvold on my side, but not my opponent's side.
Not their side. And I think that's kind of how these, that's how a mirror matchup works out. It's like, well, I hope I see my Embercleave and they don't see theirs,
Yeah, exactly. I love that Philippa said the breakout card of Kaldheim is going to be Essica's Chariot. Make a bunch of little cats with my cat vehicle, my cat carriage.
Oh, then you're gonna love this. Let's take a look at the flip side. We've got Jenny here on the other side. What card or mechanic are you most excited for in Kaldheim? Cat Chariot. I'm pretty sure it's just the same person playing against themselves.
Yeah, it's kind of. I like that you mirrored the image this time, though.
Right? Oh my gosh,
this is the other side.
I love it. It is the exact same picture. And asking Jenny what card that she was hoping to see a lot of and not hoping to see it, she said she wants to see the namesake of the deck come into play, but only on her side. So, so same answers to the same questions, same deck, same 75 here. I think we're just looking to see who can capitalize better, who's able to take more advantage of the graveyard synergies, that who can get a bigger Corvold faster, who can claim the firstborn and sack their opponent's creatures quicker.
Nothing feels better than doing that. That's the entire reason to even play this deck, is just to steal your opponent's thing and sacrifice them. I do have to mention that Jenny's picture game very strong. I love the picture with the ostrich.
I'm guessing ostrich. I also absolutely love it.
Unsure, but it's great. I
would like to know if the ostrich has a name.
I want to know the story behind that image.
We will have to ask. We'll have to ask. We'll get back to you next time.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I'm just so perplexed, but also I'm perplexed on how this game will go. Let's get into it.
Yes, let's go. And don't forget, both players now 2-1. There is a $3,000 prize pool on the line this season, as well as an invitation to the Kaldheim Championship, thanks to Wizards of the Coast. So a lot of stakes here this season. A lot on the line. Let's get into it. We've got both players on 7 cards.
Some beautiful Bob Ross lands on the side of Philippa. My dog yawning.
All right. Yeah, Philippa, nice Bob Ross lands. Only 2 of them, though, for right now. We'll see a Skyclave Shade, the first play of the game on Jenny's side here.
It'll be an interesting moment to see if we decide to destroy the Skyclave Shade with the Bone Crusher Giant or cycle the Shredded Sails, since we are looking for a 3rd land, and it would be quite nice to see one with these 2 Woe Striders in hand and even more expensive spells after that. It'll be interesting to see what Philippa decides to do.
Yes. After declining to play Croxa there, kind of, deciding whether to play Shredded Sails or Stomp to see what your opponent does.
And we drew our forest for perfect Jund mana because it's a Jund deck.
Right? Why not? It is Jund. Red, Black Corval, Jund Corval. What's the difference, right?
Exactly.
So we'll see Woe Strider on the side of Philippa and a Skyclave Shade. Not going to block. Might as well get in. The 0-1 Goat will jump in front. But before blocks, let's sack it and scry.
I do love to scry, make sure that we're going to see more lands. That's kind of a land. We'll see if, Philippa will decide to keep it.
That is good enough of a land. We'll see on Jenny's side, Bone Crusher Giant going to stomp away that Woe Strider. We'll see 3rd land on Jenny's side. Also going to play a forest. Both players got all their colors in their red-black decks.
In their quote-unquote red-black decks, exactly.
We'll see Shatter Skull Smashing coming in tapped here. Woe Strider, number 2, making another goat. Passing the turn back to Jenny. We got a pair of Woe Striders in Jenny's hand as well. A Village Rites, a Croxa, a Heartless Act, and I believe, is that another Village Rites?
It could also be a Blood Chief's Thirst. I would guess a Village Rites since we do not see the tail end. I'm unsure. I'm going to guess that it's a Village Rites. But that's...
I should have taken... No,
nope, it's
a... It is Blood Chief's Thirst. You are right.
Okay.
You win the game.
I didn't really, because I eventually said that I thought it was a Village Rites, but I appreciate you giving me the win anyway.
Well, you were trying to make me feel better, so...
I was like going too deep on my thought process for it.
Skyclave Shade getting in here. Little Goat's going to jump in front of it again. And nothing else from Jenny's side here. So no land drop there. Croxa going to be the play here from Philippa's side. Let's see. Looks like Woe Strider is going to go to the graveyard. Get a little value off of it, escape value perhaps later on.
We're in a little bit of an interesting situation where the lack of black mana on Philippa's side is kind of straining what we can and can't do quite a bit. A lot of our spells are in fact costing quite a bit of, or at least 2 black pips. And we can't really double spell with black creatures if... these are in the way, but
now here's the play. Fizzle that Bone Crusher Giant because the Stomp was targeting the Skyclave Shade, sacked it to Village Rites, draw 2 cards, played a land, and now could replay the Skyclave Shade. But with 3 mana open, it's not the most efficient play, so Woe Strider is going to come down on Jenny's side instead, bringing a goat with it. And a pass back, Heartless Act the draw on Philippa's side. So we've got a Blood Chief Search, a Heartless Act, a Claim the Firstborn, and a Rankle. What do we think?
I think that there's no better way to fizzle a Bone Crusher Giant than by drawing 2 cards to do so. But right. We are continuing to be a little stymied in our decisions and thought processes based on not having 2 black mana. But it looks like we're just going to choose... these moments to be a little reactionary. We are letting Jenny go to her first main phase without killing the Woe Strider. But we might... This is a scary place to be because by letting this Corval resolve, we aren't really in a place where we can Heartless Act because then you just, in reaction, give it counters because this Woe Strider is still alive. So
Yeah.
this is an interesting place to be, certainly. But I suppose we at least have this Blood Chief's Thirst in hand.
Yes. So there is an answer to it. Yeah, it definitely would have been awkward. Can't Heartless act it while it's on the stack because they just sack a goat and put a counter on it anyway. So it's just a very awkward thing. Thankfully, the Blood Chief's Thirst will be a good answer to it, but it's going to take up all of Philippa's next turn. So we'll see how this ends up working out.
Yeah, and it also, we can't claim the Firstborn, so we are likely just going to be using our entire turn to Blood Chief's Thirst this Corvold. Looks like Jenny also won the War of Sea Corvold on my side, not my opponent's side.
Oh, it looks like past the turn here. So we have, I know Philippa not having the double black for the Croxa in the graveyard, either the Woe Striders or the Rankle, making things a little awkward here. So, or the kicker on Blood Chief's Thirst. So, unfortunately, without that second black mana.
Oh, I forgot about that part too.
Yes, unfortunately, Blood Chief's Thirst kicks for black and then two black. Yeah, so it's definitely.
I only ever kept it for one black, so I don't know how much the kicker costs.
Yeah, right. That they cost that. There we go. There's the swamp. Hopefully not too little too late, as Jenny is loading up on threats on her side of the battlefield in Woe Strider and Skyclave Shade. So at a 13 life right now, and perhaps the opportunity to start building back, but Jenny's hand is also full of gas. We got a Rankle, we got Claim the Firstborn, we got Croxa, double Woe Strider in the graveyard, Bone Crusher Giant waiting to come down. I don't know if Philippa has enough answers for all the threats that Jenny has ready to dispose of here. So
yeah, this is certainly going to be an uphill battle for Philippa to come back into this game, though we've got some good things in the graveyard. We've got a Rankle in hand, and I've seen, well, it still could happen, but it is going to be a little bit difficult. There's also a slurry of mana on Jenny's side, and quite a big possible Shatter Skull smashing. So that's what really makes me dubious about this game. I think if there were no removal in the hand of Jenny and we just sat with these things on the side of Philippa, I do believe it could be possible for Philippa to come back into this game. However, I think the Shatter Skull smashing is going to pretty much spell an end for whatever Philippa is able to play onto the battlefield and spell a win for Jenny.
Yes, and unfortunately at 3 life, Jenny already with 9 power in play. Philippa having to discard the Claim the Firstborn to keep the Rankle, but not enough black to even cast both spells in her hand. So that'll do it for game number 1 here as we move to sideboards. Wow, that was quite a game 1. I think that pivotal point, that stomp on the Skyclave Shade and being able to sack that and fizzle the Bone Crusher Giant, so getting rid of a removal spell and a threat from Philippa's side. Meanwhile, making it into your own card advantage on Jenny's side. That was a big turning point in that game. Now, any thoughts on sideboards here?
It's kind of hard to say. I feel like with these decks, you don't want to load up on too many escape creatures. Otherwise, they're all kind of tugging at each other. Especially when these decks aren't actually playing that many ways to mill their decks into their graveyards. Aside from Timuret Calls the Dead. And you're only playing 2 copies of Timuret Calls the Dead. So it seems a little spooky to be putting an Ox of Agonis or Phoenix at Ash into the deck. But we do see one of those going in, and we did see a Croxa get shaved, though. So we're taking and giving a little bit here.
I wonder how similar the sideboarding is going to be here. Obviously,
it doesn't look similar at all.
Yeah, right?
We immediately, I believe that this is... I don't actually know how to tell who this is. They're the same. They're the same deck. I don't know how to tell who just sideboarded first and who sideboarded second. Actually,
well, actually, right now we are watching on the side of Jenny. I believe.
Yeah, now we're watching on Jenny's side for this game.
So we flipped the script here.
Okay.
Yes.
We did see, I believe that we saw Jenny immediately bringing in Agonizing Remorse and eliminates.
Back to Philippa. So
Okay.
we are back to Philippa's side. Philippa on the play, keeping 5 lands and a Woe Strider on a mulligan to 6. So gonna need a little bit of help here. However, Jenny's hands, although keeping had 4 hands of Woe Strider, Corvold, but was able to draw 2 mana play in Kroxa, Death's Hunger. Philippa happy to discard a land and take the 3 rather than the soul spell in hand. Woe Strider going to hit the battlefield here and pass it back to Jenny. So interesting, very different opening hands on either side here. We could see Jenny with a little more gas in the tank, I suppose.
I was going to say with a little more power.
Yes.
And, the Crag Crown Pathway for our Junt deck.
Yes.
And also the namesake of it being a Junt deck, Corvold, Fey Cursed King, in the hand of Jenny. So it's, if you had to ask who wins the game right now and here, I would probably say Jenny based on the sole power of her hand currently.
Now, it looks like this stomp going to be executed before Jenny able to village rights the creature. So Woe Strider going to sack the goat in response, and we'll see a scry here on Jenny's side. Looks like that's going to go to the bottom. Stomp going to take care of Jenny's Woe Strider here. Shatter Skull Smashing coming down as a land, and Woe Strider getting in for 3. Now we've got both players at 17 life. Pass the turn back. Savai Triome is the draw on Jenny's side. And there you go. There's your pathway, your green pathway for your Jund deck.
My green pathway for my green Jund deck. And also this Rankle for my Jund deck.
Right?
I don't know why I started talking like that.
I don't know. I imagine that's kind of how Rankle talks.
That's probably how Rankle's probably got a little bit of that accent going on. I don't know. Fairies maybe have weird accents. He probably still sounds a little bit like that.
I like it. All right. Rankle going to do some of their pranking business. And now we've got green on both.
All green for our Jund deck.
All green for our Jund deck. Now, we'll just Philippa know Corvold in hand for Jenny. So we're going to see Corvold hitting the battlefield here. And Philippa, with just a Crag Crown Pathway and a Claim the Firstborn left in hand, even with a Woe Strider and a Bone Crusher Giant in play, nothing to answer a Corvold as far as size or removal. So
Claim the Firstborn can't even take Rankle.
No, poor Claim.
Rankle, not the firstborn. He's the youngest brother. That's why he's a prankster. The younger ones, they're always kind of wily. I'm one of the younger ones in my family. I would know.
I'd have been able to tell you that. I could have guessed that.
Corvold gonna do a little munch on one of these swamps.
Corvold.
Oh. Okay, good. We're not. We were hovering, sacrificing this fabled passage, and I was like, no, don't do it.
Oh no! But unfortunately, at 10 life, 8 power in the air, Philippa just wasn't going to be able to find her way out of that one. So the battle of the red-black Corvold decks goes to Jenny, who is now 3-1 in Division 6.
It was the ostrich.
Philippa,
the ostrich really just put that matchup over the edge.
Maybe the ostrich is named Corvold. We don't know.
I would name my ostrich Corvold after those games. Corvold showed up for me, not for you.
Yes,
and that's really what did it. They were both scared of that, and we saw how it went, so they were both right to be afraid of that.
It is very true. They predicted exactly how those games were going to go. They worked out exactly how they thought. So Philippa now is 2-2 in Division 6, so still a good record. Gonna keep battling. Only week 4, 3 weeks left, and Jenny up to 3-1, which is a very good record right now, and which is pretty fantastic. So I'm ready to move on to the next. Talking about fantastic records, here in Division 7, we have a 3-0. So fighting for staying at in the top ranks here, we have Amy Daniels on a Soul Tie ramp deck, and here is that ultimatum I promised you. We have Merchant Ultimatum here. you know, it's like one of those ones where I looked at, I'm like, wait, they're playing something different that Genesis told me. I have to look this one up. So this is the one where you can find 3 monocolored cards in your deck, and you present them to your opponent. Your opponent picks one that goes away, and the other 2 you can cast without paying their mana costs.
I know the answer is no, but is Ugin a monocolored card?
I actually don't.
I don't think that colorless cards count as monocolored.
Do they not? I mean, I know
I don't think so.
that Amy is playing Ugin, so
That's true.
I'll go with no. I believe you, because I think it has to be like,
yeah, it has to be a color.
Like, we're looking for our like Elder Gargaroths or our Koglas or
our Kiorabestus Sea God.
Kiorabestus Sea God. That's the one I'm looking to see. That's probably usually the one that hits the bin, I imagine. I don't even know. But
are we not playing Cultivate in this? Oh, we're playing 2 copies.
Massacre Worm. Yep. Massacre Worm's in here. Yep, we got Tangleflora Hedron. We have
Massacre Worm. Is it standard?
Massacre Worm is hiding.
It's an M21.
Hiding above the Kiorabestus Sea God and Elder Gargaroth. Like, it's a Massacre Worm sandwich up there. I don't know how Massacre Worm could hide, but it is hiding.
It is hiding for sure in this deck list. This will be an interesting deck to see, because while it looks like it's got some really sweet cards at the upper end, if you don't make it to this upper end, it seems like you could get like a little bit clogged up. But Amy Daniels is 3-0, so she probably knows a lot better than I do. And this deck looks sweet, and I'm very excited to watch its wheels turn.
This is a deck that she has brought. She brought a much different version, I believe, in like week 1, and then played Gruul the last couple of weeks, and switched back over because she prefers control decks, but has been playing Gruul aggro and started to get antsy. She is hoping for some Extinction Event and Ugins in this matchup, and not to see Great Henge. So let's take a look at her opponent here. We've got Vendula on the other side on a mono green food deck. So a few similarities here. We've got more Tangleflora Hedrons here, more Lovestruck Beasts and things like that. A Kogla of her own, but that's about where the similarities end. We go to see, we have some Wicked Wolf. We've got the Feasting Troll Kings here. Well, not the Feasting Troll Kings, but
not the Feasting Troll King.
Troll Kings.
Not legendary.
Not like
we've had this discussion before. Weirdly enough, trolls just have a lot of different kings. You know, they're just a lot of different systems of monarchy, and a lot of them are also just so happen to be feasting. So you can have multiple on the battlefield at the same time. They won't get along, but they can be, the same side of the battlefield for sure.
If I was a king, let alone a troll king, I would be feasting. That is for sure. So we just see a lot of big things that Vendula wants to do here. Vendula wants to cast like the Lovestruck Beasts and the Feasting Troll Kings and just cast all these big old monsters and just get in there and get in the red zone before Amy is able to kind of do her thing. So neither side really has a way to slow the other side down. Each side is just kind of hoping to go faster themselves, it seems. So do you have any thoughts here about how this matchup might go down?
This seems like it's really scary for the mono green food deck. I'm gonna be 100% honest. It seems like the removal and black side of the Sultai deck is just going to be kind of really difficult to answer, and then we're going to bring in things like these Vivian's Monster Advocates, and it's just going to be kind of a hard time for us to really deal with the things on the Sultai side, but hopefully Vendula will be able to pleasantly surprise us.
Yes. All right, so let's jump right in here. Sultai Ramp versus Mono Green Food. We got Amy versus Vendula. We'll be watching on the side of Amy on the Sultai Ramp side here. We've got a kind of an awkward one here to start. 2 lands, one of them a Fabled Passage, double Blood Chief Search, Extinction Event, Cultivate, and a Lovestruck Beast. But it looks like we're going to keep. And Vendula down to 6 cards. Plays a tap land past the turn. Garrett Curse Huntsman will be the draw here. Fabled Passage, the play, and a pass back of the turn. Another tap land and a Gilded Goose from Vendula here. So a little slow of a start on either side. we'll see that Fabled Passage grabbing a forest here, and Swamp will come down behind that. Heart's Desire going to be the play. Beanstalk Giant was the draw. So no third land on Amy's side yet. Blood Chief Sir's going to take care of that Gilded Goose before passing the turn back. And a forest on Vendula's side. Another Gilded Goose. Goose is back.
Goose is back. And if you're on Amy Daniels' side, you got to be a little happy that your like mono green opponent's turn 3 play is a mana dork.
Yes, and looks like a tap land the draw here. So a land, not the perfect land, but a land at least for Amy here. Declining to attack into the 1/1s. Blood Chief Sir's the only possible play there. Going to pass back to Vendula, who emptied their hand last turn. Playing Witch's Oven, Gilded Goose, and Heart's Desire. Now has 1 card in hand, Love Struck Beast, Waiting in the Wings, Castle of Garenbrig. And that's going to be enough to cast this Feasting Troll King. That was the lone card left in hand here. So we've got a 7/6 on Vendula's side.
On turn 4, no less. So this is a pretty good start for Vendula. I do think that if there's any way that you're going to be able to kind of overrun this Sultai deck, this is probably going to be the way that you have to do it. It is a little sad that we get to see an Extinction event in the hand of Amy. Feasting Troll King does very sad if exiled, but it looks like we are going to choose to play this Lovestruck Beast instead of casting the Extinction event this turn.
Yes, and sacking the Fabled Passage, looking for a forest here. So not going to attack, going to pass back. Vendula drawing for turn, just a Lovestruck Beast, and Feasting Troll King's going to get in. Lovestruck Beast and the Princess will double block that Feasting Troll King. Looks like we'll do some trading here with a little bit of trample, bringing Amy down to 19. And counting up the food, gonna quickly sack 3 foods, bring Feasting Troll King right back. So we'll see if this will tempt the Extinction event on Amy's side just a little bit more.
Interesting that we see Vendula choose to not play the Lovestruck Beast. Open deck list does mean that Vendula would be able to see that the things on the side of Amy Daniels that could answer things like the Troll King, things like the Lovestruck Beast, would be something like an Extinction event. And it don't believe takes care of both of those cards at once. So you would have been able to attack for at least 5 more damage this turn, which I do think should be the plan, is to continue to try to close this out as Amy Daniels is approaching up on 6+ mana. And when this Sultai ramp deck does get quite scary.
Yes. And it looks like Amy's going to take that turn. Instead of Extinction event, going to cast a Cultivate here. Grabbed a Swamp and an Island, I believe. Played both. Going to take a nice hit. A hit of 8 damage coming across. Ooh. And Emergent Ultimatum was the draw here. Unfortunately, need another land.
No.
So Garrett Curse Huntsman looks like might be the play. Holding on to both this Blood Chief Sir's and the Extinction event, probably to avoid the Witch's Oven activations, like shenanigans with the Feasting Troll King, making foods and bringing it back and all that stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, we are seeing Garruk attempt to target the Feasting Troll King and throwing the whole Troll King into the oven, throw out the whole Troll King, get some food out of it.
I don't know if you can throw a Feasting Troll King anywhere. I feel like you'd need multiple ovens. I feel like Feasting Troll King looks pretty
large.
Yeah. I would imagine that the Troll King would be a large troll.
Yeah. Would not fit in an oven. Doesn't really make sense that you can get more food if you can't fit something in an oven, but
that is true. Ooh, a second Extinction event, the draw on Amy's side here. And we're taking a look. Garrick still alive, hanging on at 1 loyalty here. And even on Extinction event would take care of at least the token. And unfortunately, because of the Witch's Oven sort of complicating things here, the the Feasting Troll King most likely would be sacked and brought back again. So it looks like we're going to start with a Vivian here. Take a look at what's on top of the library, and we're seeing a Love-Struck Beast for Blood Chief's Thirst here.
Oh, sorry.
I think Apollo likes this play of the Blood Chief's Thirst on the Princess token. So Blood Chief's Thirst is going to take care of... Oh, before Blood Chief's Thirst can take care of that, we're going to sack it to the Witch's Oven. Make a food. So Vivian going to make a 3/3. Going to make a couple of wolves with Garrick. And pass the turn back once Gilded Goose makes a food of their own. Sizing up attacks here is Vendula. Feasting Troll King, gonna get in there. Remember, the 7/6 does have trample, so
we'll just barrel through everything.
Yes. So it does, and it trades off with all 3 tokens. Both wolves, which both, as the good puppies they are, will give Garrick some loyalty counters. And the 3/3 elk thing.
The beast.
Which is not a good puppy. No.
Yeah, not as good of a puppy as the Garruk wolves, yes.
Yeah, you know.
Apollo was just very excited for the Garruk wolves. That's why he was barking.
Totally get it. Totally get it. So it looks like now is the time for an extinction event, as we do have double Feasting Troll Kings on Vendula's side. So Vendula can only guess here with the Witch's Oven whether even or odd would be named. And it looks like we are going to go with even. Just take care of that second Feasting Troll King. And a Love-Struck Beast, we're going to cast a, we're going to cast a Heart's Desire here. Make a 3/3 Beast with Vivian. This one with Vigilance again. And Garrick is going to make 2 more wolves and then pass the turn back. As of right now, the Love-Struck Beast cannot attack, but surprise, Heart's Desire in Vendula's hand makes a 1/1. So Love-Struck Beast can get into the red zone here. Vendula mostly ignoring the Planeswalkers so far. What do you think about that?
It's kind of trying to figure out a good way to put this. I understand the decision to do it. The life total of Amy Daniels is rather low considering the size of creature in Vendula's deck. But at some point, I think we have to decide to make an attempt to get rid of the Planeswalkers, as we can't really keep up with make a 3/3, make 2 2/2s every single turn. We just don't really have the creatures or the resources to keep ramming them into those that Amy Daniels basically gets for free, but it's like free plus because we're getting loyalty onto these Planeswalkers that can eventually do very big ultimates.
Yes. And although we do have a 7/6 here, Vigilance and Trample, you know, like we'd said, looks like Garrick's going to minus here to try to take care of that Love-Struck Beast. Still have an extinction event in hand. We know the Tangleflora Hedron's in top, and we played a tap land here, which means Emergent Ultimatum may be the play for Amy next turn. So what everybody's been waiting for, in other words. A Love-Struck Beast going to be the play, most likely as a glorified blocker here, as it cannot attack. Tangleflora Hedron, though, might help in that if we get to that point. Vivian making a 3/3. Another Vigilance 3/3, and we're not going to attack into that 7/6 with our 3/3. So Gilded Goose going to end the turn by making a food token and pass it back to Vendula. 2 cards in hand. Amy at 11 life. Vendula's still sitting at 20, but these boards are definitely comparable to one another here.
I don't know. It's hard because I agree that, like, at face value they are comparable to each other. I do think that Amy is in a far more commanding position. The quality of card that is in Amy's hand currently is just so much better than I imagine the card quality of any 2 cards in Vendula's deck, as well as having 2 Planeswalkers that are actively ticking up pretty much. So as much as I want to believe that Vendula is in a good position, this Wicked Wolf certainly makes it a slightly better position, but still not a great one, seeing it there's this other extinction event that Amy has very intelligently played both of the extinction events very well. making sure that like there is something that is going to be exiled every single time, even though there's this witch's oven making it really difficult to do something like that on Vendula's side.
Now, interesting enough, Vendula also decides to get in with the 1/1 princess token, which is blocked by Florahedron. So we're going to see trades on both sides here. Both of those beast tokens for the Feasting Troll King, but able to make another food with that Gilded Goose. So even after Wicked Wolf, able to bring back the Feasting Troll King, and then the 1/1 Florahedron for the human token. So, oh, and it looks like we're going to see a -2 here, which is interesting because it's a cast on the ultimatum. It's not like the Genesis ultimatum where you put them into play. This one says you may cast the cards without paying their mana costs. So we're taking a look through Amy's deck here. Kiribati the Sea God coming right off the top. So if Kogla or Beanstalk Giant will get a creature with a mana cost smaller than them, and I believe Kogla is 6, Beanstalk Giant is 7. So yes, we could be seeing an Elder Gargaroth or a Massacre Worm here. A Massacre Worm, I'm imagining if
Beanstalk Giant is picked.
It looks like we're going to cast Kogla, and we will cast Beanstalk Giant. Oh, and it lets you pick what side you'd like to cast too. How interesting. See, I'm learning new things here.
I'm learning. I thought that the ultimatum was a misclick. I did not think it could have possibly allowed you to cast them without paying. I guess it makes sense. It's an ultimatum. They've got to do big, powerful things. But all right, today I learned. And that was exciting. That was a very big play. And this is spooky.
Yeah, Kogla comes in and is going to fight that Wicked Wolf. Now, there's no food right now, and Vendula is entirely tapped out. So her only option there, sacking the Wicked Wolf to the Witch's Oven to make 2 more food here. Temple of Malady is the land for turn. Haven't used Garrick yet, so we can make a couple of 2/2s to go along with these formidable attackers in Beanstalk Giant, Kogla, and Elder Gargaroth on Amy's side. So Temple of Malady revealing Heartless Act.
I feel like formidable attackers is putting it lightly. I do think it's an interesting decision on Vendula's side to choose to keep the Gilded Goose over sacrificing the Gilded Goose to make the Wicked Wolf indestructible that turn. That would have actually won the Wicked Wolf the fight against the Kogla, but it's showing that Vendula values the ability to get these 2 foods and possibly get another food off of the Gilded Goose this turn, but we do see the block, and nothing's on Vendula's side is going to have a great chance of getting bigger than an 8/8, so we see Vendula scoop it up.
Well, so here on Amy's side, we quickly see the sideboard 2 emergent ultimatums come in as well. Just so you know, on Vendula's side, as far as sideboards, we have 2 Chainweb Arachneer, 1 Witch's Oven, 2 Ram Through, 2 Scavenging Ooze, 2 Thrashing Brontodon, 2 Questing Beast, 2 Vivian Monsters Advocate, 1 Kogla, the Titan, the Ape of her own, and an Ugin, the Spirit Dragon. So is there anything that you're looking to see come in here, or maybe definitely not stay in?
It's so hard to say. I feel so bad for Vendula because this is the last type of deck that I would want to play against, playing the mono green deck. So it just seems like there's not really a whole lot you can do. They banned Veil of Summer, so barring somehow getting that back into our deck, it's hard to say what exactly came in or came out. I think it kind of just depends on how Vendula has decided that she wants to play this game. So I imagine like more aggressive slanting things came in to try and just like close the game out as soon as possible, because that's the only way I can imagine her really winning and taking over this matchup.
Yes. Now we'll see double Gilded Goose start from Vendula's side here, and a Heart's Desire. So, you know, 1/1 drops to start the game. Probably this kind of start that Vendula wants to see and will need to see. On Amy's side, we saw Temple of Malady scry another Temple of Malady to the top, passing the turn back with both Eliminate and Heartless Act up. Also, Emergent Ultimatum, Beanstalk Giant, and a Kira Best of Sea God seen in hand. Probably still want that one in the library, but what can you do? Sometimes I guess it ends up in your hand. It is still castable, so
that is true.
Difficult, but it's castable. Playing 4 Zagoth Triome and 3 Clearwater Pathway.
Mm-hmm. So it is possible.
Yes.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
We actually do see the double blue on Amy's side already, even though it is only turn 3 with the Triome and the Pathway, and the Temple of Malady. On Vendula's side, we see the Eliminate has taken care of the Love Struck Beast. The Kazandu Mammoth, though, will be the follow-up for Vendula as far as threats go. Heartless Act going to take care of that one quickly. So trying to keep the battlefield clean from Amy's side here. Bloodchief Thirst is the draw. We'll see Fertile Footsteps. Beanstalk Giant gonna fetch up a basic here. Don't need any more blue, so let's go with a Forest. Still have a land drop, so we've got both the Temple and the Triome. We're gonna go with Temple of Malady. Let's take a look here. Ugin Spirit Dragon. It's a pretty good card.
You and I really like that card. I'm going to tell you right now, Vendula doesn't really like that card.
No, not at all. Not a card Vendula is going to want to see, but Amy wants to keep it. Only 6 lands so far, although with options to do, definitely wants to make that 7th land drop, looking at an Ultimatum and a Kira Best of Sea God and a Beanstalk Giant. Making that 7th land drop is going to be imperative here.
Well, while we're at it, we'd like the 8th land drop too.
Because why not just make it easy? So land number 6 coming down here. Bloodchief Thirst, the only possible play from Amy's side. So until then, going to keep taking the beats from the 1/1 Princess, and these Gilded Geese are going to keep doing what they do best, and they're going to keep making food. A 1/1 going to get in. Amy down to 16. Vendula with 4 cards in hand right now. Castle Garenbrig on the battlefield too. Kazandu Mammoth will be the play, and a pass of the turn back. There we go. Land number 7, second blue source. So we get Ultimatum here, Kira Best of Sea God, or Beanstalk Giant. I think we know what we want to see here. It's Ultimatum all day.
I'm silly. I'm sitting here like, which one do I want to play? Do I want to play Kira Best of Sea God, or do I want to play the Sorry, you're right. It's Ultimatum every single time. That's just they're all the most fun cards to cast.
So we see we see a Massacre Worm. We see a Vivian Monsters Advocate, and we see a Kogla. All our 3 choices here. So it's kind of pick your poison again here, Vendula. Unfortunately, it looks like Massacre Worm is gonna get the no ma'am here. Kogla and Vivian are the choices. So
yeah. Please not that one. But these other 2, we maybe have a chance.
Yes. So
I would say we maybe have a chance, but looking at the other cards in Amy's hand, it's seeming less and less likely.
This is definitely going to be an uphill battle for Vendula from here on in. A 7/6 staring down a Planeswalker, making an endless stream of 3/3s. Wicked Wolf going to attempt to fight the Kogla here. Going to sack a bunch of food in order to do it. Becoming a 6/6 itself. So it looks like that will at least answer the Kogla. So, and now we've got a Wicked Wolf.
Wicked Wolf is fun. Putting up hands.
Yeah.
Ready to fight.
Heartless
and we made one more food so we can stay alive.
It looks like minusing the Vivian, casting that Beanstalk Giant. Remember that Massacre Worm you didn't want me to cast?
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's back. Oh, my goodness. And it's going to absolutely do what it's made to do and massacre Vendula's side. There go the Princess Token and 3 Gilded Geese. So, oh my gosh. Vendula takes 8. The 3/3 Beast going to get into the red zone here, bringing Vendula down to 9. And staring down a Beanstalk Giant and the Massacre Worm. Even being able to make that Wicked Wolf indestructible. Feasting Troll King, however, if there was one card that they wanted here, it's probably that. Wicked Wolf attacks is going to be blocked by the 3/3.
This Wicked Wolf and Vendula don't have any fear. I would have held it back, but
Yeah.
Vendula's like, if there's a way I'm going to win this game, it's through attacking. So we're going in.
Both that attack and that block surprised me, but that's, yeah. We're going to see a Heartless Act here take care of that Feasting Troll King. And with no way to gain life and nowhere else to do anything else, that'll do it. That takes care of the mono green food deck with Vendula. Amy's going to take that one down on Sultai Ramp. Wow.
Bringing her to 4-0?
4-0 with Emergent Ultimatum. Like, get that story out there. Somebody needs to know this. Like,
I know I'm going to be loading that deck up into Arena later before Called Highbrows over. I want to try this.
Hold on. Wait, I wanted to try Emergent Ultimatum. Maybe it's still good. Maybe it got better. You know, everybody's playing all those new Binding of the Old Gods. Binding the Old Gods. We got one more
match, and then I'm going to go try it. I got to know.
That's a pretty sweet deck. So one more match. I'm ready.
Every single one of our matches tonight has been a 2-0.
It has. They've been really close games and really good games, but they've all just ended up going the same way. That's all. Mm-hmm. So
we're going kind of speedy tonight, and none of them are aggro decks.
Right? Well, you spoke too soon.
Oh, I did. Sorry, my bad.
You did. It's okay, because for this last match, we are headed into Division 8 for a Gruul mirror. Now, it's not a perfect mirror like our red black Corvold.
It wouldn't be a Zendikar standard tournament if we didn't show you a Gruul mirror. That's just how it is.
Yes. So
for all the fans at home.
Although it is the same idea where, you know, your cards to watch are going to be very similar. You want to watch for the Crone War and your cheap removal like Fire Prophecy. But we've got a pretty standard Gruul deck here. 4 main deck Akroan Wars on the side of Rihanna. Rihanna, Division 8, 2-1 record right now. Hoping to hit early Embercleave as it often comes down to who hits and sticks one in the mirror. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like she has any main deck removal for an Embercleave. So that'll definitely be a fear in game 1. There's no Shredded Sails or Wilts or anything.
I do see a Clothis, which will be interesting if it gets to do some cool things.
Yeah, Clothis is definitely an interesting card because it's weird because normally you don't want these games to go very long. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like even gaining that incidental like 4 or 6 life, that could be the game. So
yeah, exactly.
It's definitely an interesting one, and really going heavy on the Embercleave Akroan War. Like has the full 4 Embercleave, right? This is not joking around. Like 4 Akroan War, 4 Embercleave, 3 Great Henge. Like I'm going all in on these enchantments and artifacts and everything. So I think a lot of this is going to come down to Rihanna's opponent, Bruns. So on Bruns' side, who, by the way, is also 3-0. So we've got a lot of undefeateds trying to like, you know,
trying to defend the title.
Exactly. They want their playoff spots, and I can't blame them. Now, on Bruns' side, we do have 2 main deck Wilts. So that's definitely something to think about. And also Rimrock Knights in the main deck here. So not you know, it's like give a little, get a little, I feel like here.
Yeah.
So the Rimrock Knights instead of just 2 Akroan Wars, and we see both sides 2 questing beasts. We see a main deck of Adonis. Yeah. So it kind of, I feel like a lot of this is going to be made in the sideboard. Like who's going to take down game 1, and then when you move to sideboards, you're going to have very similar plans. You know, Scorching Dragonfires here.
Yeah.
We've had Fire Prophecies on the other side. We see an additional Wilt in the sideboard of Bruns. What do you think here about maybe game 1? Say I see more Akroan Wars on the side of Rihanna, but I see more artifact removal on the side of Bruns.
If Rihanna can live through an Embercleave from Bruns and then steal the creature that has the Embercleave, I think that some really cool and interesting things could happen. However, the creature would like need haste. Well, I guess it would be tapped either. Okay. No. It still could be cool, but then we do just
cool.
re-equip the Embercleave. It's hard to say. It does feel like Bruns's deck is a little more slanted towards beating the mirror, so I'm gonna have to give it to Bruns for this one.
Yes,
based on my initial reactions of simply the deck lists.
All right, and a 3-0 record is nothing to sneeze at. So,
oh, certainly, well, they got here doing something right. So
that is very true. So, and just so you know, if you'd like to join us next season, type !join VML for the information. Please follow Aspirant and Sugoi Gaming on Twitter as we go into our final match of the evening. We've got a Gruul mirror here, and looks like Bruns is our top player. Starting off with a 1-lander, and also Rihanna, both going to 6. Looks like the Ox of Agana's gonna get the ship from Bruns, and I don't know if Rihanna can keep this, so it looks like we're going to 5. A much stronger 5, though. Being able to get rid of the Embercleave, just more expensive. Can't see it happening. No red source in hand right now either. Great Henge. So just going to get rid of those 2, very expensive cards. And obviously drawing Embercleave to start things. Because why not?
That's the worst feeling. I just bottomed that card. Why is it in my hand again?
Exactly. It's a shuffle bug. Ooh, and a good draw on Bruns' side. We've got a Lovestruck Beast casting Heart's Desire off that, and an Edgewall Innkeeper here in turn 2 after playing a tap land in turn 1. Rihanna drawing the red source here. Has the ability to stomp or to play a Brushfire Elemental. Looks like we're going to try to stomp that Edgewall Innkeeper, keep Bruns from getting any further card advantage. Edgewall Innkeeper doesn't want to attack into that Princess, so we're just going to pass the turn back here. Bruns going to play a Mountain and get in with the Princess, because Edgewall Innkeeper ain't blocking the Princess either. So Lovestruck Beast going to come down. Fable Passage the turn, draw for turn, and we're going to cast a Bone Crusher Giant and draw off of that. We're going to draw a Questing Beast here on Rihanna's side. So hand now is Fable Passage, Embercleave, Brushfire, and Questing Beast. So an Embercleave can come down as early as next turn. Lovestruck Beast getting in on Bruns' side. We know about that Acroan War. Let's see if it's going to be dispatched here, or a Lovestruck Beast is the other option. Doesn't look like wants to cast that Acroan War quite yet, so we're going to cast both sides of Lovestruck Beast here and just build up a little bit more of a wall, leaving a land and a Acroan War in hand. What do you think about that?
Well, we just got a couple of couples on the side of Bruns, so...
Yes.
I thought that was funny, but I get that. Fine.
Double date.
Yeah, exactly. But we do
is crashing the party, though.
We do see that the Lovestruck Beasts coming onto the battlefield was quite a good offensive and also defensive strategy for Bruns that led up into a very nice little yoink using the Acroan War. And now we're getting to do some attacking. Both of these Lovestruck Beasts coming in, as well as Rihanna's own Questing Beast that didn't get to attack is now coming in at her.
Yes, and knowing that Rihanna's creatures are going to have to attack back, might as well eat up some damage here. So both Edgewall Innkeeper and Bone Crusher Giant will chump some Lovestruck Beasts. And... Kazandu Mammoth will be the draw and the play. Gonna play a Fable Passage here. Thinking about cracking it, and it looks like she will crack the Fable Passage to grab a forest and play the Brushfire Elemental. This is all before attacks, and now we know that the second chapter of Acroan War has been made, so next turn, both this Mammoth and Elemental are going to have to get in there. Scorching Dragonfire, a good draw, taking care of the Kazandu Mammoth. And at 5 life, Rihanna can do nothing about it. So, unfortunately, ending that game at -6. We'll move on to game 2 here.
Yeah, we did get to see some of the main deck mirror hate really doing Bruns some good there. And
yes.
We'll see how Rihanna chooses to do the sideboarding, throwing in some of these Vivian Monsters Advocates.
And funny enough, the Acroan War was only a 2 of in Bruns's main deck, while Rihanna was running 4. So go figure.
But Rihanna did see 2 of her Embercleaves, one at the bottom of her deck and
Yes!
one that she drew.
Yes, sometimes it's just, it's luck of the draw. And mulliganing to 5, even when your opponent does mulligan to 6, mulliganing to 5 just does not feel good.
No, it really does not ever feel good. Rimrock Knight's coming out for Bruns, taking a look at what we might possibly want to bring in. This Ox of Agonis still staying in. Maybe the other one comes in? Nah. But we will bring in the 2 Primal Mites. And maybe we'll bring in these Vivians of our own. Maybe we won't. We did take out an Embercleave.
Yes, 2 Scorching Dragon Fires came in. So those are good. We'll see. Want some number of Wilts. Definitely don't want the Questing Beasts. Like you said, shaving is a number of Brushfire Elementals. One of the Acroan Wars, though, looks like it's staying in the sideboard.
Mm-hmm. We don't want 3. 3's too much. We know our opponent's playing 4, but we don't want that many. We just want 2. We'll see ours, as game 1 proved.
And now it looks like Rihanna on the play, able to keep 7 here. Bruns looking over the hands. It's kind of a funny hand. 4 lands, Edgewall Innkeeper, Ox of Agonis, and Soul Seer. Ox of Agonis definitely a later game card, and Soul Seer being a removal spell, but the more expensive one that Gruul tends to play. But will keep in the end and draws a Shatterskull Smashing. And Rihanna will play a Shatterskull Smashing to start here. Or I suppose it's a Shatterskull Hammer Pass to start here. So, all right, a Forest and sending out the Edgewall Innkeeper and pass back at the turn to Rihanna, who will play a Mountain and stomp out that Edgewall Innkeeper before Bruns is able to get any value out of it.
No
Queuing
value.
up that Forest for next turn, and it looks like Forest will come down after a Forest was also the draw on Bruns's side. So Cloythus has entered the battlefield.
And we are seeing that the Cloythus stayed in for Rihanna, whereas Bruns, again, did not bring in a Cloythus from the sideboard. So we're kind of seeing these 2 Gruul players playing pretty similar decks, but choosing to approach this matchup and mirror in a very different way.
So Cloythus will eat its first card from the graveyard. Unfortunately, right now it's the only card in the graveyard. That won't be so for long as Soul Seer takes care of Kazandu Mammoth. So we've got Bruns at 18, Rihanna at 22, 4th land drop on Bruns' side, double Shatterskull Smashing, Ox of Agonis, and 2 lands in hand for Bruns. Looks like Cloythus is going to eat the Mammoth in Rihanna's own graveyard, and a second Mammoth is going to be deployed here.
We got to get one of these creatures to stick. Something's got to stay.
Oh, no. It looks like Bone Crusher Giant's going to be the play here. We're going to play the Mammoth as a land. Kazandu Valley will come into play here. Soul Seer, the draw from Bruns' side. So does have the answer for a Bone Crusher Giant, whether they're willing to take another 2, because the Cloythus damage is going to start to add up here, or they could play an Ox of Agonis, but unfortunately that means they would lose the Soul Seer, the Shatterskull Smashings, and all that nonsense. So
but they would draw 3 new cards.
That is true. They would draw 3 new cards. It looks like Shatterskull Smashing is going to be the choice here. We're going to take care of that Bone Crusher Giant. Take a couple of points of damage for it. Down to 14 on Bruns' side. Cloythus is going to eat a card. Another 2 damage to Bruns, so down to 12. Rihanna up to 26. Bone Crusher going to Stomp Face, going upstairs. Bruns to 10. Bone Crusher Giant into play here. And going to hold on to that land and pass the turn back. Scorching Dragonfire, the draw here. But no real way to get rid of that Cloythus.
Yeah, this is interesting how much work this Cloythus has. It's pretty much done all the damage in this game. And, well, aside from these Bone Crusher Giant stomps and effects, but Cloythus has done quite a bit of damage and has kind of had this imminent doom kind of aspect that it's thrown out here, and it's interesting to see how Bruns is choosing to play around it slash into it in its own way. And it looks like Bruns is actually going to scoop it up without seeing a way to be able to kill Cloythus.
Yeah, and I wonder if Bruns was like waiting for Cloythus hopefully to become a creature so that they could soul sear it or something. So
that is possible. Soul sear take away indestructible?
Yeah. It takes away indestructible until the end of turn or something. It deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker.
I have not played with a ton of soul sear.
Yeah, it's an awkward like removal spell for Cloythus, but I suppose it's usually meant for Love Struck Beast, but I suppose it would work.
It would take rid of Cloythus too. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but if your Cloythus is a creature, you're probably in pretty good shape anyway. So looks like some scrambling around on the sideboards here is going to happen though, or put in some Embercleaves and change things around. Rimrock Knight's back in, maybe on the play.
Yeah, I would guess that the Rimrock Knights just have a lot more value on the play than on the draw, so I imagine that is why they are coming back into the deck. As well as we see kind of some of the Scorching Dragonfires coming out. I think that this also has to be a play versus draw dependent decision. And the other Embercleave coming back into the deck, as well as the Akroan War extra piece is now in the deck.
Yes, I guess Ox of Agonis left a bad taste in Bruns' mouth the last game.
Would have left a bad one in mine as well, but
yeah, it always feels bad when you have a castable card and you just die with that card in hand, and you're just like, I wish this was just fill in the blank any other card. Yeah. So unfortunately, it wasn't the right situation for Ox of Agonis. Bruns not able to empty out their hand to make the most of the positive parts of that card. So Bruns, however, will be on the play here. Looking at a decent hand, maybe a little slow, but not bad on Bruns' side, starting with a Fabled Passage. And Rihanna going to start with a Heart's Desire after playing a Pathway. We've got two of the bigger boom booms in the Gruul deck in Rihanna's hand, in Vivian and Great Henge. So we'll see if we are able to get to that part of the game.
We certainly will be with Lovestruck Beast in the Adventure Zone currently. Lovestruck Beast works very nicely with the Great Henge.
It certainly does. Oh, and there's Cloythus, MVP from last game. Brushfire Elemental into the battlefield, and Rimrock Knight can't block, so can't do anything about that. Brushfire and the Princess going to get across for 2, bringing Bruns down to 18. A Fabled Passage, the draw here. So we're looking at either Mammoth, Kazandu a Pathway as a land, or
we could use this Brushfire Elemental and the Fabled Passage, attack for 8, and then also use the cracked land from Fabled Passage to play Heart's Desire. I do think that the things in our hand are kind enough to us on the next turn, regardless of what we draw, that could be the play. It just always feels weird when your opponent is at 20 life to make a very aggressively slanted play like that.
Yeah. I mean, well, the Fabled Passage will come in tapped, although the damage is, definitely would add up here. It looks like a more defensive play. It looks like we're going to stomp out that Bone Crusher Giant, and we're going to play Kazandu Valley. Stomp out the Brushfire Elemental with Bone Crusher Giant. And Cloythus is back. So the 1/1 going to stay back on defense here because at this point, I think Rihanna just wants to stay alive. So at 17 life and Bruns at 18, still a little bit of a ways to go in this game.
But if you're looking at things like Vivian and the Great Henge in your hand, you win if the game goes a little bit longer. You've got those big cards in your hand, and if you can just get a little bit further, it's all going to go smooth for you.
Yes, and we'll see the Brushfire Elemental on Bruns' side, followed by a Fabled Passage to pump it up at least once this turn. So right now it is a 3/3, cannot be blocked by that Princess, as Brushfire Elemental cannot be blocked by creatures power 2 or less. So Fabled Passage is going to be cracked right now. Going to fetch up a second mountain, and 5 damage going to come across, brings Rihanna down to 12. Fabled Passage a draw on Rihanna's side. looking at what can we eat from the graveyards here. Do we want to eat a Fable Passage to give us some extra mana? Or are we looking to... It looks like that's what we're going to do here. So instead of gaining life, it looks like going to gain a green, play a green, and Vivian will be the play.
The ramping side of Clothis is really nice and allowing us to play this bigger creature or this bigger spell this turn and just like slowly kind of loom over what Bruns has in play is very, very nice.
Yes, it definitely is the less utilized half, I feel, of Clothis for multiple reasons. There's usually not as many lands in graveyards unless you're getting milled out by rogues or something like that. But it's definitely, when it works, it works. So looks like Wilt's going to be cycled here.
Well, we got a pretty nice one off of that Wilt cycle.
Yes, it looks like we have double Love Struck Beast, sure. Satyr Soul Smashing in hand, but Ember Cleave. Oh, staring at the Ember Cleave.
We do have the Ember Cleave, and we do have, we can make these attacks. They're kind of a little bit of suspicious attacks if we were to make them.
Yes, especially because here playing the Shatter Skull Smashing, that could at least kill, one of the blockers, or as a removal spell is going to come in shocking, and that's a tell if I ever did see one. It looks like Rimrock Knight coming after Vivian, Brushfire Elemental going for the face. So the Princess token going to jump in front of Rimrock Knight. The Beast token going to jump in front of the 3/3 Brushfire Elemental, and Ember Cleave is going to come down and wants to take care of that Vivian, much more important. So Brushfire Elemental will trade with the Beast token. But now on Bruns' side, we've got an Ember Cleave Rimrock Knight, and a 1/1 off of Heart's Desire. Clothis deciding again what to do here. Unfortunately, it looks like Rihanna's draw for turn was a Forest. So double Fable Passage, Forest, Great Henge is in the hand. Lovestruck Beast waiting in the wings, but that doesn't help cast the Great Henge if it's dead. So
that's certainly true. No, I really want to highlight how great of a play that was from Bruns last turn. It really kind of swung the favor back onto their side. When you were kind of staring down this Vivian Monster's Advocate, and there wasn't really the greatest way to get rid of it, I really appreciate the steps that they took to get rid of it that turn, saying that is a very hard card for me to beat, and I need to find a way to get rid of it now, even if it means shocking and making some kind of weird attacks.
Yes. And it'll be very interesting to see how Rihanna decides to block here. Just jump in front of the 1/1, eat the 1/1, and taking 8 from Rimrock Knight, going down to 6. But Lovestruck Beast for now is alive. So we'll see Bruns casting their own Lovestruck Beast and a Bonecrusher Giant with a Lovestruck Beast in hand. So knowing that they have a 1/1 that they are able to play next turn. Clothis going to eat that Wilt, dealing 2, gaining 2. Rihanna back up to 8. Able to gain a little bit more life here off of the Great Henge. Unfortunately, another land was the draw for turn, so just double Fable Passage left in hand on her side. We're going to go back to Bruns' side, who drew a Scorching Dragonfire for turn. So that's pretty tough with the first strike damage from Rimrock Knight.
Yeah, and as it stands, it looks like regardless of the first strike damage, regardless of really where this goes, I do think that it spells the end for Rihanna, knowing what Rihanna has in her hand.
Yes, unfortunately, the 5/5 in front of the 6/6 double strike trampler, even gaining the 2 life, going back up to 10. Going to take 7 off the Bonecrusher and the Rimrock Knight. I'm going to take another 7 off the trample damage from the Ember Cleaved Lovestruck Beast. I think this will do it. And Bruns is set to move up to 4-0 in Division 8.
Did we watch every 3-0 player go to 4-0?
I feel like we did.
I believe we did.
No, and Kabir was 3-0. Yeah, all the 3-0s up to 4-0, and so a really decisive week. And that we got our game 3. We did get our game 3.
Oh yeah,
Rihanna was 2-1, so I believe Rihanna is now 2-2. So still a really strong record there in Division 8. We saw a lot of really good battles, a lot of different decks too. So it makes me so happy at usually when the new set's coming out, you're like, oh, it's dead standard. Oh, this is terrible. And then, everybody's like, wait a second, hold on. Yeah. Have you seen Ruinous Ultimatum? It's great to see the innovation that our VML players bring every week. And again, if you want more information about our league, about the Venus and Mercury League, because, the VML is pretty fantastic, type !join VML. It'll give you all the information. Or reach out on Aspirant or Sugoi Gaming on Twitter. We would love to talk to you. Love to get in touch with you, because this organization is pretty fantastic. And as you know, for this season 4, we are being backed by Nerd Rage Gaming. So make sure you also follow the NRG series on Twitter. They are pretty fantastic. And we are being sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. So a big shout out to them. Thank you so much. We'll be sending the winner of season 4 to the Call Time Championships this season. We have a $3,000 cash prize pool. And we also have Channel Fireball CFB Pro, a year subscription to CFB Pro for first and second place, and then 1 month for the rest of the top 8. So there's just so much going on. There's so much hype. There's so much awesomeness. We have so much support from the community. For those of you who got here late, just so you know, we are the VML. We are a league for showcasing the talents of people of marginalized genders within the Magic community. And we are so glad that you are here with us tonight to celebrate, I guess, the last competitive week before Call Time hits. So what did you think, Beck?
I think that I was I was waiting for a moment. You're fine. I'm always so happy when you sit there and talk and I just get to make faces at everybody.
I enjoy your faces. That's actually, if you see me keep looking, I keep looking at you. So you keep me going.
Wow, so cute. Okay, I can be serious. I was actually going to say that I really love, as much as everyone gives Wizards so much hate for making these cards like Omnath and cards that make it impossible, Play Design does a great job. Regardless of what everyone says, they made this game that we're all hopelessly addicted to and love. They did that. And sometimes they make a card that isn't quite right, and then they work to make it better. And then when another card comes out and we're like, why is this card so strong? They had to play that card against a card that they previously banned for us. So we have to understand that they have a hard job. And by all accounts, they're doing a pretty great job. And they did make this standard great eventually. And it just took saying goodbye to Omnath, but it got there. And it's been a very healthy standard format, and hopefully Call Time will be an equally nice, wonderful format.
And I'm sure they'll boast about it.
Oh, for sure. And I'm just excited for new cards. We all kind of get excited for new cards.
Oh, I am stoked. I have loved looking over all the Call Time cards, and I watched a lot of the early access streams and everything, and they are fantastic. Do you have a favorite card that you're watching for? Are you also waiting for Sika's Chariot or?
Do like Cat Chariot. My favorite card is probably the new Kaya. Yeah. I also think that the new Tibalt probably has some really broken things that it can do, and I'm really excited to see one of the new Planeswalkers just do really exciting things. But the one that I think I'm looking out for the most is Tibalt.
See, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to steal my first saga with Turgid. I cannot wait. I can't wait. Be like, oh, Elspeth conquers death. Oh no, chapter 3.
Oh no.
I cannot wait. Turgid, I cannot wait to play the heck out of Turgid. That's what I am looking forward to here. So
I do also stan Vorinclex.
Oh, sure.
Of course.
We just want to wreck sagas between the two of us. That's
yeah,
all.
exactly.
Well, I cannot wait. And I hope each and every one of you are here with us next week. A big thank you again to Nerd Rage Gaming, Channel Fireball, Wizards. And as always, our producer, Phoebe, knocks it out of the park every single week. So big ups to Phoebe. Our whole admin team, obviously our players who all did a fantastic job tonight. My lovely caster co-host here, Beky. Beky, where can we find you on the internet?
Pretty much at Beky Bear everywhere that you would be able to talk to me. If it's other video games, I'm usually Lovely, Luvly. But pretty much everywhere you can find me is either Beky Bear spelled below me or Lovely. So
I would agree that you are lovely.
Oh, thank you. You are as well.
Thank you. I also think Beky Bear everywhere is a pretty sweet. Like I like how that sounds. That came off really good.
That's my sign off. Beky Bear everywhere.
Beky Bear everywhere. And I am Nicole Callahan, also known as Lady of the Crease. And my final and biggest thank you is to all of you viewers who are here supporting us. Thank each and every one of you. You're what makes the VML possible and just so much fun. So love you all and cannot wait to see you all for next week for Call Time debuting on the VML. How exciting is that?
Be here for Call Time. It'll be great.
Yes, yes. We will.
And enjoy playing Call Time in the meantime.
It's true. It's true. Get yourself warmed up. Get yourself warmed up.
Or go play some of the Sultai Ultimatum like I'm about to go do.
Oh boy. That sounds like a good time to me. So we will catch you all on the flip side. Have a wonderful night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.